one's already tuned in yet, but here we go. Comments will appear here. Cool. Oh, here we go. Alright, I'll just, I guess, chill until some more people start tuning in. But, yeah. Alright, let me share this on social media. Okay, we have 2 people watching. Hi, everyone. All right, let's start this off when it gets to maybe 5 or 10 viewers. No idea what's going on, but yeah, let's chill for a bit, guys. To anyone that's watching, thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Hi everyone. Okay, we have 6 viewers. Alright, let's get started with this then. So, first of all, thank you to Youngry for inviting me to speak today at this Lunch and Learn. Today, I guess I'll just be kind of going over UCI eSports, kind of how it happened, and what, I guess, a collegiate eSports team and program needs to succeed, and kind of all the right, I guess, puzzle pieces in order for anyone out there that's interested in how we did it, to do it at their own university, or for, for anyone that's looking to get involved with the collegiate esports space, what opportunities are there and what the value is of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So, I guess I'll introduce myself real fast and kind of go over my background with UC Irvine and esports. So, I came to UC Irvine in 2013, in the fall of 2013, and I basically founded the Dota 2 club when I came, and at the end of my second year, I became the vice president of the club. And during my junior year, that is when I met with Mark Deppy, and we met with administration, and we basically started building an esports program and started basically working on it, building it, pitching it to administration, getting sponsorships. And over the summer after my junior year is when we basically built the arena, recruited the players, and this past school year has been kind of our first pilot year of the program itself. We managed to win a couple championships in different games, but unfortunately we did not win League of Legends ULOL, which is kind of what our big goal is, but we're looking to recruit for more games next year and hopefully win again, or try and win championship for next year's ULOL, assuming Riot continues that program. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so that's kind of my background with UC Irvine and whatnot. So what are the kind of recipes for success for a collegiate esports club and an esports program? So with UC Irvine, the reason why we decided to do the program was a couple of things. And I'll kind of break them down one by one. So first of all, in esports in general, esports is dictated by the community and the authenticity of the community itself. That means that you need to build your events, programs, whatever you're doing in esports, it needs to be authentic to the audience that you're trying to reach. UC Irvine is the #1 school for gamers according to College Magazine, and this was before we even built the esports program. We have basically the biggest gaming club on campus, the Association of Gamers, which I just finished my term as president as. Kudos to my new successor, Jenny Song. Hopefully, I believe she'll do a great job next year. But we have such a big gaming community that, it's very authentic to build an esports program at UC Irvine. There's so many students. We did a survey actually in the fall of my junior year, so that was 2 years ago. And of over 1,200 undergraduate students that we surveyed, about 74% identified as a gamer, 89% were in support of an esports program. So we knew that this program that we built on campus wouldn't just be something that we do for media attention. It would actually just honestly be a great initiative for the students on campus because there were so many interested students and so many passionate students for esports, and that would do a huge service and benefit to those, this huge silent majority of students on campus. Second of all, it really synchronized with the university's strategic initiatives and kind of strategic plan. So every school kind of has its own agenda, right? So some schools are very big sports schools. They're very focused on recruiting athletes to come to their campus. Some schools are really focused on STEM. Some schools are really focused on arts, right? So with UC Irvine being a public research university, we have a lot of focus on, cutting edge technology. And so first of all, UC Irvine is, I think, one of the first schools, if not the first public school, to do a video game design program. We have a computer game science major, as well as tons of faculty studying things about video games from all different disciplines, from law to arts to social sciences to computer science, and etc. And on top of that, I love UC Irvine, but as someone that, actually got into Berkeley, I chose UC Irvine over the other schools because of the amazing potential for gaming career and population at UC Irvine, right? It's right next to Blizzard, and that's something, actually, another competitive advantage I'll go into later, but UC Irvine is in a really good location to do esports, and so that's why I came here. And for UC Irvine, right, we're probably number 4 or 5 on the UC scaling list. The UC system, it goes Berkeley, LA, San Diego, and then either Irvine or Davis, depending on what field you're going. Davis is better for, agriculture and bio, but UCI is definitely better, I'd say, for computer science. So kind of becomes a little bit of toss up there, right? So one of the things in UCI's strategic plan is to try and become, a school first choice in the UC system. Well, if you're a passionate gamer, right, and most gamers are in STEM, and let's say you're a super smart kid that got into Berkeley, but you're also a super passionate esports fan, and UC Irvine has this huge esports program and has a huge esports community and lots of great opportunities for you to have fun, and, the other UCs don't, you might be willing to choose UC Irvine over the other schools. I think another thing to note, too, is in this day and age, in this college space, where you get your education, to the level of education you get at each university isn't exactly, that different. It's more so about the networking and the opportunities and the people that you can meet at the university and whether or not you click with the campus culture. Of course, different universities have different levels of competitiveness and attract different levels of students, but to be honest, if you're a successful person and going to be a successful person, you will go and be successful no matter what school you go to. So really, I think in this day and age, people are more emphasizing on whether or not they like the university they go to, and they really see themselves there for 4 years, rather than just simply SIRing to whatever best school they got into. So that's a huge reason why UCI eSports was built, so that UC Irvine could attract basically the best STEM students and the best students that were really interested in esports to the university. Third is definitely the location, obviously. UC Irvine is right next to Blizzard Entertainment. It's right next to a ton of huge hardware companies that are really big into esports. iBuyPower, which is our biggest partner, is about maybe a 40-minute drive up to the City of Industry. So that's a huge thing. And, for any public university to really build a program these days, public funds are tight. It's not as if the world is donating money left and right to public universities these days. So definitely finding sponsorships was a huge deal, and we had to make this program cost neutral, so that no one could really look at this program and say, oh, our tax dollars are going to this, our tuition money is going to this. This esports program was a completely zero cost to the university, so we kind of basically said, it's not going to cost you anything, why not, right? If it's only going to bring you good things and it's not going to cost you any money, why shouldn't we do this, right? And that was a really big piece and integral part of our creation of the program. And so those are the biggest things. So community was there, the university's strategic alignment was there, and we had the money to do it. And I guess lastly, to credit myself and Mark Deppy and all the other amazing people at the UCI Sports team, we have a lot of amazing people that are there to build this program, a lot of the right people that can kind of lay in the groundwork and whatnot. Definitely, even if your university has a lot of things going for it, if there's not an administrator that's willing to really champion the program and the esports movement, it's going to be rough, right? You can't talk to administration and get things going as fast as possible unless you have someone on the inside. Mark's been working with UCI for over 7 years, I think, and he knows everyone on campus. He knows who to talk to and who to get, the ball rolling on anything that the program needs. So yeah, that's kind of how one of the reasons why we did the UCI Sports program. And I guess let's talk maybe about what are the important things that we kind of had to do to get it started. I think first of all is really utilizing all the existing campus resources at the disposal, as well as ensuring that, it's about helping the university. We could go on and on about how esports is so big and how like if we do it, it's going to be successful, but it's about also just helping the parts on campus and how we show this as a benefit to the entire campus as a whole. One of the things that we did really well, I think, when we built the program was we really worked with our student body, our associated students at UC Irvine, and we got a lot of support from them. The president at the time, Parshan, great guy, by the way, he was a huge champion of our program. He literally just he just basically told the chancellor, because they had like meetings every month, and he just straight up told Chancellor Gilman, by the way, esports, we need to do it. And Chancellor Gilman was just like, okay. So, when you have that kind of advocacy on your team for your university, it's a huge push. And I'll say this too, like any university students out there that are watching this, if you have not worked with your student government, you need to start doing that, because the student governments generally have a lot of power on campus and a lot of resources too. Our student body probably allocates a good amount of I would say a good couple thousands to our club's events every year. They do it for all the clubs on campus, and it's a huge ally to have, and they obviously know everyone on campus, so if you need anyone to talk to, they can do that for you. The other things too is just we did our research, and I think we were really persistent and we pushed really hard, and we basically made sure that we addressed concerns before they came, and that was a huge thing as well. We tackled a lot of issues such as diversity, funding, gamer mental health, gaming addiction, all these kind of issues that people will immediately probably start pointing at esports and trying to say, hey, what are these concerns? We had the answers to them before they even asked. So that made it really easy to kind of just jump over any hurdles and any doubts that any administration or critics had of our program. And obviously then too is just the basic principles of being in a startup. Building a program is similar to being in a startup. You just have to be persistent. You have to be taking the initiative and really push and basically go out of your way to pitch to potential partners and sell them on the idea, right? Because, before you even can build a program, before you build all the stuff, no one really knows how successful it's going to be. But if you really believe in the mission and you can sell that to people, then they will be willing to take that leap of faith and invest, over $500,000 into an esports program. Let's talk maybe about our team as well and the players, since that's a huge component of our program. So, players, teams, and scholarships. Okay, so I guess this will answer one of the questions I saw earlier here. So, what types of... Okay, no, that wasn't it. I think someone asked what games we pick to do esports. So, the biggest thing that matters is that we have to be able to, first of all, find the relevancy to our students. So, if we did, for example, a Neopets tournament, okay, I'll just throw out a game, because I don't want to offend any games right now, right? So I don't want to start any drama. But let's say we did like a Neopets scholarship team. How many students on campus would be excited to watch a UC Irvine Neopets team compete? Probably not that many. So the number one thing is that if we make a team for this, would other UCI students, is there UCI existing gaming community around this game, so that if we made a team for it, people would follow it, right? League of Legends and Overwatch and Melee are like the three biggest games on campus. So we know that if we made a League of Legends team or an Overwatch team or a Melee team, people would naturally want to pay attention because they play those games and they want to support their school. Obviously, makes sense. Number two thing is just also, is there a collegiate circuit for them to play in? A school team needs to play against other schools. So if there's not a college league for a game, we're not going to build an esports program, a scholarship program around it, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons why we're, picking the games that we do. There needs to be kind of like at least a developer sanctioned tournament, I would say. So that way we can say there's some kind of recognition and legitimacy, and if things, with the tournament have issues, there is someone that we can say is responsible enough to help us solve and fix those situations and whatnot. Okay, cool. And then lastly, obviously, is there support from a financial standpoint? But generally, as long as there's a lot of interest around it and developer support, that's something we can find. And lastly, it's whether or not we can actually recruit and find players. So we need to be able to scout and recruit and find talent and also get coaches. If there's no infrastructure in a competitive environment for the game, it's going to be really difficult for us to really build a scholarship team around it, right? We can't just, run tryouts, right? Because, students need to be already in the school for them to sign up, or at least we need to know they're really good to draft them in, right? We can't just, open tryout and then wait that long and then say, oh, these people that got in, now we're going to scholarship them, now we're going to bring them in. We need to be able to do that with advanced knowledge. And thankfully, League of Legends and Overwatch all have ranking systems that make it really easy for us to determine who's a good player. Okay, so that's kind of what we use to determine who's going to play on the team. We have a coach. We had a couple coaches over the last school year, and basically we have them to determine our roster and also help work out our team strategy. Some of the things that we did, we had a team manager, my good friend Matt, and he basically helped to manage all the schedules of the players, and also make sure that they showed up to practice, all that kind of stuff, manage the support staff too. And yeah, we also had a team psychologist. We had them meet, I guess, once every 2 weeks to basically go over kind of making sure that all the players were playing at the most optimal settings. They were all energized, wanting to play, and wanting to do their best in every game. And some of the big things I'd say that comes to team management is, I guess, first of all, is every player needs to kind of honestly be on an equal setting. You really want to avoid having cliques form on a team setting. And some of the issues that kind of come out of collegiate esports is that obviously if certain players are roommates or certain players live together, those players are going to obviously become a lot closer, and it becomes a lot harder for people to kind of make a more unbiased decision about what teammates or who starts and whatnot if there's like a discussion, because we had a sub, and that can kind of get hazy. Make sure you have a coach determining and kind of being that authoritative figure about who plays, who starts, all that kind of stuff, and really try and make sure that you have like someone that has the respect of the players and is going to be able to, when they make a decision, all the players can follow it. And also make sure that the players are buying into whatever it is you are promoting. Yeah, those are the biggest things I'd say from a support staff end that you have to make sure that the players have in order for you to effectively manage them and work with them. Okay, cool. So I think we're about halfway through this. So I'm going to go ahead and just start reading through these questions and answering them one by one. Yeah, I've been reading the chat, but I think I needed to finish going over that stuff first before I went into it. So I guess first of all, say hi to everyone. Eugene asked, what is the best way for students to reach out to companies such as MSI for support and sponsorships for local club and events? So I would say honestly the biggest thing is just, and this is maybe a little bit difficult for schools non-SoCal, at least for like a company like MSI. I think the number one thing, and honestly, like I think a lot of college students will need to learn this earlier rather than later, because I think a lot of them don't learn this until way too late. You are not going to succeed in life very easily if your only method of contacting people is just cold emails. Life is about networking, and it's about a lot of things, and I'll say this too, it's about relationship building, and it's about people. And I think it's a huge deal to do things face to face. It creates a level of trust and a little bit more. It makes things a lot more comfortable and a little bit more trusting to work with someone that you've met in person and have kind of how to talk to. Honestly, it's like kind of a little bit of social betting, right? If they're not being a complete, a freak like in person, right? You can probably trust them to hopefully have a good business plan, and you're more willing to want to pitch and listen to ideas. And honestly, too, when you talk to someone in person, you have their attention, you grab their attention and whatnot a lot easier than rather than you send an email out, maybe they glance at it, maybe they don't. So the number one thing, first of all, at least for UC Irvine's success in getting sponsorships, I myself have pushed a lot hard to basically go to as many kind of networking and exposition events in SoCal, or at least as a lot of them. And even, Eugene, that's where I met you, right? Like going to these events and talking to you and whatnot. It's definitely important that if you want to get a meeting, that you try and get that in person and talk to them in person and start there. For any school that's not in SoCal that wants to get some help with this, I think just try and utilize the networks that are out there. I think TESPA is a great tool for students to be able to meet other students from any chapter across the country. I think I just recently talked to someone, the chapter president from Rutgers, and they're doing some awesome stuff. And it's just cool to bounce ideas off, and also contacts too. If I talk to an organizer and I think he's doing some great stuff, and he asks me, hey Jesse, I'm all the way in the East Coast, I've never talked to MSI, but I would like to work with him, could you set that introduction up? And this guy's giving me good vibes, I trust him, yeah, of course I'll make the introduction. And it's probably a lot easier, I would imagine, for you, Eugene, to want to listen to someone that has a recommendation from someone you've trusted to work with, than rather getting a cold email saying, I'm another one of the hundreds of gaming clubs out there, here's here's a sponsorship proposal, please look, right? And obviously, too, the sponsorship proposals are a big deal as well. Make sure those are clean and tight and concise. And, obviously, every student club that wants to work with sponsors should make sure they understand how to do a business pitch, deck, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so the next question. What is the most common way for professional collegiate players to make money to the level where the college can be paid off or live well? Get good. That's really it. I'll say this, because it's really hard to determine who's going to be able to win. Like, there's only one team that can win, so only really one school can really guarantee like a full ride if they get to win the championships or not. Play a diverse amount of games. I think a couple of our scholarship players play like a lot of different games, and that probably helps. And I would imagine that the net gain from all the winnings that they get from different games helps a lot too. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult because if you're playing somebody to get different games, it's hard to focus on one and get really good at one. But at the same time, collegiate skill level is a little bit lower, so you got to make some trade-offs. What types of websites or apps esports players could use to make the game playing experience better? You recommend to make money? I think there's a couple out there already. I think Mobalytics just recently came out. They are a startup that won TechCrunch Disrupt, and they're kind of an app that is meant to analyze gameplay and help players improve. And I think there's a lot of tools out there that are looking to do that, so those are pretty interesting. And for the most part, I know Mobalytics is really successful since, obviously they won TechCrunch Disrupt, and they're doing pretty well. But yeah. What role do sponsors play with professional teams? Is it similar to Formula Racing or other sports? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so sponsors are currently the biggest source of funding, I would say, besides investment for esports teams. Before investment came in, it was all sponsorships. Now a lot of investors are getting into the scene, and that's where the biggest amount of money comes from. But currently, esports does not gain revenue from network deals, so we don't make money off of selling TV network deals. We're very, very far away from making a good amount of money from merchandising and sales. We have almost no existence in the live event space. So whereas you can sell out a stadium for a Lakers game every other night, esports does that maybe a few times a year for the biggest championship games, and that's a huge deal. So right now, sponsorships are definitely by far the biggest chunk of kind of where all the esports money is. What games this year do you feel become more popular for esports professionalized but not big yet? Well, obvious one is Overwatch. It's the biggest game player-wise, and even though its esports scene hasn't really blown up yet, it's definitely got the potential to, especially with Blizzard's Overwatch League. I think they just recently wrapped up a huge tournament in Korea called Apex, and Korea is kind of the biggest indicator of whether or not esport will become big or not. Every game that kind of becomes a big game in Korea will become big internationally, so that was StarCraft, then League of Legends, and if Overwatch is next, then Overwatch is next. And Korea is huge on Overwatch. The viewership, I heard, and the live attendance for the Overwatch League, or the Overwatch tournaments in Korea was pretty big, so I think it's a good indicator that Overwatch will likely succeed internationally once more infrastructure and more tournaments pop up. Definitely, though, I would like to see some more tournaments before Overwatch League starts, just to make sure that we can start stirring up those fires. But obviously, if Blizzard wants to do Overwatch League, I highly doubt there's anything that's going to stop them from making it happen. Who are some players you are inspired by and why? Probably my biggest inspiration is Boxer, Lim Yo-hwan. He's the founder of SK Telecom T1, and he's kind of like the first ever legend of StarCraft Brood War. He's called the Emperor of Terran, and I really look up to him because he's not just someone that is a great player and cares about success and winning, but it's also someone that knows how to build and grow like the team. And the guy basically invented what an esports team is, and he kind of just built what esports is. Honestly, like, the guy is a freaking legend, and he showed basically like the passion, dedication you need to have to succeed in the esports space. And back then they were eating cup noodles, living in an apartment, and now obviously SK Telecom is probably one of the most successful and biggest team brands in the world. But it's just amazing to kind of see the pioneer of esports, kind of, and he's a huge hero of mine. Are there any VR opportunities for esports? Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's likely that VR will take over the next 10, 20 years. I don't know how soon, but it's definitely getting there. And I can imagine the next esports games will be VR games. And it might even add the physical element to it that we're missing. And, if you put on a headset, you can play a game and you can move around while you're doing it. Well, that takes away the whole gaming doesn't give you exercise stuff. So that would be cool. And I think there are a couple startups these days trying to actually use VR to kind of do esports like audiences, like viewership, so you can basically watch an esports event in a live stadium using VR. Personally, I don't think I would do it, but I could see people wanting to do it. It could be interesting. But definitely a lot of potential for VR and esports. There's a reason why HTC is so investing into esports right now with HTC Esports and their sponsorship of TSM, Cloud9, and Team Liquid. Toby Kwan says, "What's up, Jesse?" What's up, Toby? Yo, if you guys are hiring at MBS, let me know. Okay, I had to plug that in. I'm not sure who else has any questions, but feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll just go ahead and shout out my social media handles if you guys are interested. My Twitter is at JesseLovesPha. And make sure you follow me if you're interested to hear more about or whatever I talk about on that. I mostly just retweet things and talk about, well, feel free to follow me. I'd appreciate it. It's at Jesse Losfa. And make sure you like UCI eSports. It's facebook.com/anteateresports, as well as facebook.com/tag@UCI. Really appreciate any support you guys can give to the program and the club. If anyone has questions, just go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, I'll just be chilling here for the next 5 minutes. Sorry about that. Put that on silent. What do you think of Blizzard dumping a lot of money into Overwatch? The growth isn't as organic. Yeah, obviously I'm really concerned about that as well. It's a huge critique I made of the game, actually myself. And yeah, I mean, it's a little bit concerning. I'll say this though, even though I think I would have personally preferred if Blizzard kind of did some more, I guess, testing to make sure that the Overwatch would succeed as an esport, which I mean it will, pretty clearly with the Overwatch League and whatnot. It's obviously going to succeed a lot more than HOTS simply. Give me a sec. Why is my email being weird? But anyways, so something that I think is a lot different in this case is, first of all, HOTS came into a very saturated market. Like, dude, you can't make a MOBA when there's like League of Legends and Dota 2 like blowing up right next to you, right? That's gonna be very difficult. And even though Heroes of the Storm, because of that, obviously, I think they made a smart move of creating kind of different gameplay dynamic. They went for like the casual, no leveling, no items, super casual, super easy to get into. But at the same time, you know, it's not going to even kind of bring up the same appeal that League and Dota had, so obviously you can't expect everyone to suddenly jump into HOTS. I do think HOTS has created a sustainable and healthy player base and a niche of people that like that kind of game, but it's definitely not one that's going to blow up as the size of Overwatch League. At the same time, I don't think Blizzard has really invested that much into Heroes' esports scene, so I'm not too worried. But definitely that's a valid concern. I think with Korea's Apex League being so successful, there's definitely a lot of potential, and I think that Overwatch will succeed, but obviously it's kind of risky right now considering that we haven't really seen the viewership in North America or Europe really manage to get to the points where we'd be comfortable with the level of investment too that Overwatch League is putting in. You know, LCS, like to give you, you know, an analogy or a comparison, LCS was built after successes of huge tournaments like the IGN Pro League, right? So it kind of made sense to buy that Season 3, Riot makes the LCS. They kind of have a guaranteed success, right? As long as they don't screw it up, that the viewership will come in. Blizzard hasn't really done that with Overwatch yet, so the fact that they're kind of jumping in Overwatch League without having had some tournaments to prove the success is a little bit worrying, but considering the player base size of Overwatch, I'm not too concerned. They just need to make it a little bit more spectator-friendly, get a spectator... fix their spectator client and make it a little bit more friendly, and you know, I have some thoughts about it as a game itself. I would love to. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like I like a little bit of snowballing. I feel like sometimes I watch an Overwatch game and it feels like everything just ends after one fight, even though they were fighting for like 20-30 minutes doing the same exact thing. And I know that happens in League of Legends too, but I think the build up to that point is a little bit more fun to watch in like an esports game like League of Legends or CSGO, where kind of there are like these gold advantages and whatnot. And I'm not saying Overwatch should necessarily build gold advantages, but I just think maybe like especially on defense, you know, like on attack and defense, or defend and attack. I feel like defense gets kind of boned because, you know, they can defend for like literally 30 minutes, or they can defend like, you know, they can defend really well for 90% of the time, but if attack makes one good breakthrough and gets to the next checkpoint, it just keeps going, right? And I kind of don't like that. At the same time, they do switch sides, but I would just kind of prefer if there was more ways that defense could speed up the way that they can kind of win the match. But yeah, I think Overwatch will be fine. But it's definitely risky, right? Like, it's still not a guaranteed success, and just because the viewership is really big in Korea does not necessarily mean that the viewership will blow up in NA. But I mean, you know, only time will really tell, right? And yeah, looking forward to seeing you in Vancouver. You better. I don't care if you have a final that morning, Tristan. You're gonna be there when we turn up on Thursday night. So you better not chicken out on me. Oh yeah, and I will be at the Biz Esports Conference next month in May. If any of you guys are going, I'd love to say hi to anyone that wants to talk there. And yeah. Da-da-dum. All right, so we're nearing the 30-minute mark. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys learned something. And of course, you can reach out to me on Twitter or whatever other social media channels that you have access to me on and ask questions. I'm always down to chat and talk about collegiate esports and esports in general. Make sure you follow me on Twitter if you haven't. It's at Jesse Loves Pho. I'm just going to type it into the chat, I guess. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Twitter, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And zot, zot, zot.